Hello class, welcome to lesson 5.2, which is all about solving inequalities by multiplication and division. By the end of this lesson, you should be able to solve linear inequalities by using multiplication or by using division. Let's look at our first example. We have Matt walks at a rate of 3/4 miles per hour. He knows that it is at least 9 miles to Lake Minnetonka. How long will it take Matt to get there? Write and solve an inequality to find the time. Okay, so let's quickly remember, if we're talking about a distance and a rate, there was some, and time, there's an equation that we've always been using this year. Hopefully you guys remember it. Distance equals the rate times the time. We can use the same idea, but we're going to make it an inequality. Okay? And it doesn't necessarily have to be less than. So, we have our rate of 3/4 miles per hour. We know that it's at least 9 miles. So at least 9 miles. So it could be equal to that 9 or it could be greater than that 9. And we want to know how long it will take Matt to get there. So I know I'm going to multiply my rate and my time. So 3/4 times t. And that has to be greater than or equal to 9 miles. So in order to solve this, just like we were doing before, we still tee it up. We want to get our variable by itself. So we have 3/4 times t. So we want to divide both sides by 3/4. So divide both sides by 3/4. Remember, dividing by 3/4 or dividing by a fraction is the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. So I have 9 over 1 times 4 over 3. If I do that, I can reduce on the diagonals, and I know my answer is 12 without having to use a calculator. So I know 12 is there, and I have greater than or equal to. So my answer ends up being, it will take Matt at least 12 hours. So I would write that out. I would say it will take Matt at least 12 hours. Alright, so writing inequality first was the 3/4 t is greater than 9 or equal to 9. And then my final answer after I solved it is this written expression right here. So go ahead and try this one on your own, see how you do. Hopefully you determine that j is greater than or equal to 300. If not, be sure to ask for some help. Let's look at example 2. We want to solve this inequality. Okay, so if we solve it, again, I tee it up, and I'm doing -3/5 times d. So I want to divide both sides by -3 over 5. Divide by -3 over 5. Now I have d is greater than or equal to. So I have 6 over 1 times, I multiply by the reciprocal, -5/3. So this cancels, this becomes a 2. So I have a -10, because I have a positive times the negative, and 2 times 5. So if I have d is greater than or equal to -10, just like I was doing in the addition and subtraction inequality video, let's check our answer. So I have a number that has to be greater than or equal to -10. So let's try a -5. So I have -3/5 times -5 over 1 is greater than or equal to 6. So I have a negative times a negative, so that becomes positive. My 5's cancel. They can reduce down to a 1. So I have 3 times 1 over 1 times 1. So I have 3 is greater than or equal to 6. Uh-oh. This does not quite make sense, because 3 is not greater than or equal to 6. So hopefully you guys remember, and while I made the error, you were yelling at your computer screen, or maybe some of you have already walked up to ask me about this. But we have d is greater than or equal to a -10. However, when you multiply or divide by a negative number on both sides, remember you have to flip your inequality symbol. So if you look, we divided both sides by a negative. We divided both sides by a negative. So that means we need to flip our inequality sign to the opposite direction. Okay? If there's anything that you write down from this video, let it be that. Okay? Make sure you write that down. If you multiply or divide both sides, okay, so whatever you move, if you're moving one number from the left side to the right side or the right side to the left side of the inequality symbol, and it's negative, you need to flip your inequality sign, but only if you're multiplying and dividing. Okay, so go ahead and try this one on your own to see how you do. Hopefully you ended up with x is less than a negative 30. If you have any questions, please be sure to ask for some help. Let's look at our last examples. We want to solve each inequality. So we have k, or 12k is greater than or equal to 60. So in order to get k by itself, I have a 12 times k. I need to divide both sides by 12. I'm left with k. Then 60 divided by 12 is 5. I divided both sides by a positive 12, so my inequality symbol stays the same. If I were to practice my set builder notation, my answer would look like this. Okay. And if I want, I could check my answer. So k is greater than or equal to 5. So if I try, let's go with the 6. So 12 times 6, is that greater than or equal to 60? Well, 12 times 6 gives me 72, and that is greater than or equal to 60, so we know that has to be correct. Now let's try our last one. We have negative 8q is less than 136, so I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 8. So I have q, and then 136 divided by a negative 8 becomes a negative 17. And I divided both sides by a negative 8, so I need to flip my inequality sign. So now I can, if I practice my set builder notation again, I would do q, vertical line, q is greater than negative 17. So now if I choose a number that's greater than negative 17, I could choose 0 is greater than negative 17, so I have negative 8 times 0. So that would be 0 is less than 136. That's true. So I know that my answer has to be correct. Alright, go ahead and try solving this last one on your own and see how you do. Alright, hopefully you said our final answer was z is less than negative 16. Alright, I actually want to do one more, I think. Let's say I have m over 3 is less than 9. If I want to solve that, I just realized I didn't practice any where it was a variable over a number, and sometimes that can be a little tricky. So this is the same as m divided by 3, or the same as 1/3 m. Okay? These are the same. But if you see m over 3, to undo that, you're going to multiply both sides by 3. So I have m is less than 27. Okay? So I just wanted to make sure that we solved one by using multiplication, because I think we did all division today. Alright. I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, but make sure if you have any problems that you reach out to me.